It weighs about half an ounce, a tiny piece of black metal. An eagle with its wings spread, an anchor hooking the globe. It's so small, you can hide it in the palm of your hand. But let me tell you something about the eagle, globe, and anchor. It is the heaviest thing a human being will ever carry. You can't buy it. You can't inherit it. You have to pay for it with blood, sweat, and pieces of your own soul. This is the story of a girl who was told her whole life that she was too small, too weak, and too fragile for this world. This is the story of how she walked into the gates of hell and made the devil step aside. Jessica Hayes was 5'2" and 110 pounds soaking wet. She grew up in a dying steel town in Ohio, the kind of place where dreams usually dry up before you even graduate high school. Her father was a mechanic with calloused hands and a hard heart. Whenever she talked about doing something big, he'd just shake his head. "Jessie," he'd say, "some people are built to be hammers. You're built to be the nail. Just keep your head down." Everybody treated her like glass. In high school, she was the girl who sat in the back of the class, invisible. But inside, there was a fire slowly building. She didn't want to be protected anymore. She wanted to know what would happen if she stopped running. So, on her 18th birthday, she didn't throw a party. She walked into a U.S. Marine Corps recruiting office. The recruiter looked at her, then looked at her paperwork, and almost laughed. He told her the dropout rate for females at Parris Island was brutal. He told her she didn't have the frame for a combat load. The second those bus doors hissed open at Parris Island, the girl from Ohio died. The shock and awe was absolute. Drill instructors, terrifying. Flawless machines and campaign covers swarmed the recruits like sharks smelling blood. It was 3 a.m. The air was thick with South Carolina humidity and pure, unadulterated panic. They stripped her of her name. She wasn't Jessica anymore. She was just this recruit. For the first 4 weeks, it was a living nightmare. They call it the breaking down phase. And it worked. In the squad bay, the screaming never stopped. Lights, lights, lights! Trash cans smashing against the deck. Doing push-ups until her arms literally gave out. Her face planted in the cold, hard floor. Jess was the weakest link. During early morning PT, she fell behind on the runs. Her lungs burned. Her legs felt like lead. The kill hat, the most ruthless drill instructor in the platoon, was always right in her ear. "You're weak, recruit. You're exactly what they said you were back home. Do you want to quit? Say the word. I'll have you on a plane by noon." One night, sitting on her rack in the dark, clutching a blistered foot, Jess started to cry silently. The physical pain was excruciating, but the mental exhaustion was worse. Her father's words echoed in her head. "You're a nail, Jessie. Step away from giving up." But then came the confidence course, week 6. Jess was standing 40 feet in the air, staring down at a massive pool of muddy water. She had to cross the slide for life. A thick rope suspended high above the ground. Her hands were torn open, bleeding through the white athletic tape. Her arms were shaking uncontrollably. She was terrified of heights. She froze. The platoon stopped. The senior drill instructor, a hardened staff sergeant who rarely yelled but had a voice that could cut glass, climbed up the tower and stood right next to her. She didn't scream. She leaned in close so only Jess could hear her over the wind. "Recruit," the drill instructor whispered. "I know you're hurting. I know everyone in your life told you that you don't belong here. But I don't care about who you were in Ohio. I care about who you are going to be on the other side of this rope. Are you a civilian, or are you going to be a Marine?" Something shifted in Jess's chest. The fear didn't leave, but it was suddenly swallowed by a massive, blinding wave of defiance. She wasn't doing this for her dad. She wasn't doing it for the recruiter. She was doing it for the girl who had been invisible her whole life. She let out a primal scream, grabbed that rope, and threw her body over the edge. Her muscles tore, her hands bled, but she dragged herself across, inch by painful inch. When she hit the sand on the other side, she was covered in mud, gasping for air, but she looked up at the tower. She wasn't a nail anymore. Then came the ultimate test. The Crucible. 54 hours of sleep deprivation, simulated combat scenarios, and hauling heavy gear over impossible terrain. By the second night, hallucinations set in. The recruits were zombies, moving strictly on muscle memory and adrenaline. During the ammo resupply event, Jess was assigned to carry 2 heavy ammunition cans. They weighed almost as much as she did. Her boots were soaked with sweat and blood from ruptured blisters. Every step felt like walking on broken glass. In the pitch black of the Carolina woods, the girl next to her, a recruit twice. Her size tripped in a hole and twisted her ankle, going down hard. I can't walk," the girl sobbed, holding her leg. The drill instructor circled, waiting to see what would happen. This is where you find out what a person is truly made of. Jess didn't hesitate. She dropped 1 ammo can, grabbed her injured squad mate by the webbing of her gear, and hauled her to her feet. "Put your arm over my shoulder," Jess grunted, her voice completely hoarse. "We are not quitting. You hear me? We finish together." For the next 4 miles, the smallest girl in the platoon carried the weight of 2. Her spine felt like it was fracturing. Her vision was tunneling, but she didn't stop. She locked her jaw and kept moving, chanting cadence under her breath just to stay conscious. Dawn broke over Parris Island. The sky was painted in bruised purples and blazing gold. The final hike was over. The platoon stood at attention in front of the Iwo Jima monument. They were filthy. They were broken, but they were standing. The senior drill instructor walked down the line. The silence was profound. When she stopped in front of Jess, she looked at the blood on her uniform. She looked at the tear streaks through the camouflage face paint. Then she reached out a hand. She pressed that tiny piece of black metal, the eagle, globe, and anchor, into Jess's bleeding, taped-up palm. "Congratulations, Marine," the drill instructor said softly. Jess closed her hand around the emblem. The sharp edges of the metal pressed into her wounds, but it was the best pain she had ever felt in her life. The tears finally fell, not from sorrow, but from an overwhelming, staggering sense of pride. She looked at the emblem. The girl from Ohio, the one everyone thought would break, the one who was too small and too weak, she was gone, left behind in the dirt and the mud of the Crucible. Standing in her boots was a warrior, forged in fire, unbreakable, a United States Marine. Video created by Subedi 1M Rock.